Hello, and welcome to Drowsing Through History. I'm so glad you've joined me tonight. This is a space made just for you, a place to slow down, to rest, and to drift gently into sleep, one soft breath at a time. Maybe today was long. Maybe your mind is still busy, full of lists and noise and thoughts you can't quite put down. That's okay. You don't need to solve anything now. You don't need to do anything now. Just be here. Let yourself get comfortable. Close your eyes, if that feels good. Let your body sink into the softness beneath you. Let the tension melt out of your shoulders. And take one deep, slow breath with me. Inhale. Exhale. Tonight, we're going back in time to a city that is both grand and gritty, candlelit and coal-dusted, buttoned up and brimming with stories. Regency London. It's the year 1814. The streets are still lined with cobblestone. Carriages rattle past, and lamplighters are finishing their rounds. The Prince Regent is throwing lavish balls in Carlton House. Jane Austen's newest novel is being passed around in quiet parlours, and in Covent Garden, the market is just beginning to stir. But this story isn't about kings or dukes or great battles. It's about the quiet corners of a city waking up, the slow rhythm of footsteps in the morning mist, the scent of fresh bread and wet stone, the flicker of candlelight behind heavy curtains. It's about the everyday, soft and slow and full of wonder. There's no plot here, no need to keep track of characters or details. You can drift in and out as you like. You don't even need to listen. Just let the words wash over you like a gentle breeze. If you find yourself asleep before we reach the end, that's perfectly fine. In fact, it's encouraged. And if you enjoy these sleepy strolls through history, I'd love if you subscribed, left a comment, or let me know what dream you'd like to wander through next. For now, just rest. We're about to step softly into the past, a place of lace and lamplight, drawing rooms and drizzle, quiet parks and candlelit windows. Take another breath, and let's begin with a morning in Covent Garden. As the city slowly begins to wake, the city of London is still asleep. It is early, earlier than most ever rise. Not quite night, not quite morning. The sky is that muted in-between colour, like the inside of a pearl, soft and cool and pale. The streets of Covent Garden are unusually quiet. Just a few oil lamps flicker lazily in their glass casings, their flames twitching at the tail end of the long night. The buildings stand in a sleepy hush, brick and soot and silence, each window still drawn shut. But down in the square, something stirs. You hear it first before you see it, the creak of wooden wheels, the slow clop of hooves on stone, the shuffling, steady rhythm of boots crunching across the grit-dusted road. The market is waking up. A cart pulls in under the arch of the piazza, its horse snorting warm clouds into the chilled morning air. The driver climbs down slowly, stretches, yawns, then pulls back a thick canvas to reveal baskets heaped with flowers, tulips, sweet peas, pinks and lilacs, still closed, still heavy with dew. He sets one down on the cobbles, careful not to crush the blossoms. The wood clacks against the stone. Nearby, another cart arrives, this one piled high with vegetables, cabbages like soft green drums, potatoes still wearing their coats of earth, bright red radishes bundled with twine. The porters speak in low voices, thick accents, gruff with sleep but not unkind. You hear the lift and fall of a quiet laugh. Someone mutters about the weather. One man lights a pipe, the orange glow briefly illuminating his face, then fading again as the smoke drifts upward and disappears. From a side alley, a boy appears with a stack of folded newspapers under his arm. He doesn't speak. He just walks calmly, the soles of his boots tapping softly with each step. He drops a few papers off at a stall, then disappears again into the mist. You follow the sound of a kettle whistling somewhere inside a little tea shop tucked under the arches. Its shutters are still drawn, but there's movement behind the lace curtains. You can imagine the warmth in there, the smell of toast, the clink of crockery, the hush of early morning radio, or the soft murmur of a tired owner preparing the first pot of the day. The mist thickens, just for a moment. You breathe in deeply. It smells of coal smoke and tulip stems and wet stone. It smells like spring and steam and the beginning of something. In one corner of the square, a flower seller, an older woman in a grey wool shawl, sits on an overturned crate. She has a small bucket of roses at her side. Their petals are velvet dark and fragrant, even in the cold. She hums something under her breath, an old tune. You don't know the words, but the melody is soft and slow and comforting. She looks up briefly, as if sensing you nearby, and gives a faint smile. Not surprised, not curious, just a quiet acknowledgement, like you're part of the morning too. And maybe you are. A cat emerges from beneath a card, stretching luxuriously before winding itself around the flower woman's ankles. She chuckles softly and tosses it a small scrap of bread. Somewhere, a bell rings in the distance. Not loud, not urgent, just a single, clear chime that hangs in the air like breath in winter. You lean against a nearby pillar and let the scene settle around you. The soft thump of crates being unloaded, the low murmur of voices beginning to grow, the faint flap of canvas being pulled back, the slow, steady life of the city unfolding, not in a rush, but in a rhythm, a pattern, a pulse. The sun is starting to show its edge now, pale and watery in the sky. It catches on the windows high above the square, casting long golden smudges on the cobbles below. You watch as a man in a green waistcoat lights a lantern hanging over his stall, even though the sun is rising. Maybe it's habit, maybe it's comfort. The light is small but warm, and there you are, in the middle of it all. Not as a visitor, not as a stranger, just present, part of the morning, part of London. The world is waking, slowly and gently. There's no rush to move on, no need to hurry. You can stay here as long as you like. Lean into the quiet. Let the hum of the market lull you. Let the rhythm of the street cradle your thoughts. There's still time. The day has only just begun. Just a few streets away from the busy inn market, the elegant district of Mayfair lies in a gentle hush. It's a different kind of morning here. Not rushed, not loud. The rhythm of life moves with polished calm. Tall Georgian townhouses line the wide avenue, their brick facades tidy and symmetrical, each with black wrought iron railings and lanterns hanging by the doors. The windows, still curtained, hold the last of the night behind them. And yet, inside one of these homes, 3 stories tall with a fan light over the door, the day has already begun. It starts, as it often does, with the soft creak of a stair tread, the hush of slippered feet, the scratch of a match being struck. In the servants' quarters below, the scullery maid is up first. She moves carefully through the kitchen, lighting the range. The fire catches slowly. The coals pop. A red glow blooms in the grate. She rubs her arms against the chill and ties her apron a little tighter. On the ground floor, the butler lights the lamps in the hallway. One by one, they flicker, then settle, casting a golden sheen across the polished wood floors. He moves with measured grace, his footfall steady, his face expressionless. Years of ritual live in each motion. Nothing is rushed. Everything is just so. Upstairs, the housemaid pulls back the heavy drapes in the drawing room. The light that enters is pale and filtered through the morning fog, but still enough to wake the silver tea service resting quietly on the sideboard. The room glows in soft greys and golds. Dust motes dance slowly in the light, drifting like thoughts. In the lady's bedroom, the fire has already been lit. It crackles softly in the hearth, casting a gentle warmth into the space. The walls are papered in sage and cream. A small desk sits by the window, covered in neatly stacked letters and a vase with 2 fading tulips. The lady of the house stirs in her canopy bed, sheets rustling like whispers. She opens her eyes slowly, blinking into the day. Her lady's maid appears at the door as if summoned by thought alone, carrying a tray with a steaming teapot and 2 cups. The china clinks softly as she sets it on the table near the bed. "Good morning, ma'am," she says gently. No more than that. The lady stretches, cat-like, and sits up, her hair braided back from the night before, a ribbon still tucked neatly behind her ear. She takes her tea with sugar, but no milk. Always has. She doesn't speak yet, just listens to the fire, the rustle of skirts, the faint bird song outside the window. There's a quiet rhythm to the morning here. Below, the cook is preparing breakfast. Soft eggs, a warm roll, a slice of ham. The smell of it rises through the house. Comforting, familiar. At the back of the house, a boot boy scrubs the stone steps that lead down into the tiny courtyard. His hands are red from the cold, but he hums to himself, a tune he learned from his mother years ago, steady and low. In the front hall, the post arrives with a soft flutter. Letters slid gently through the brass flap. The butler retrieves them, sorting them carefully by the warmth of the fireplace before delivering them upstairs. In the library, sunlight filters through tall windows onto rows of worn books. A tabby cat, plump and dignified, stretches out on a velvet chaise and watches the light shift across the floor. The clock on the mantel ticks softly, not loud, not demanding, just present. Time, here, does not press. It flows. The lady sits at her desk now, writing slowly in a small leather journal. The pages are filled with observations, bits of poetry, sketches of the sky, notes about a neighbour's dog. Outside, a carriage passes on the cobbled road. Its wheels echo briefly, then fade. She pauses, listening, then returns to her writing with a small smile. It's a quiet morning, an ordinary one, but full of detail, full of care. And as you sit here in the calm of this Mayfair home, with its hushed hallways and steaming tea, you can feel the world easing into motion around you, gently, softly, exactly as it should. The fog thins as you leave Mayfair behind. You walk slowly, hands tucked gently into your coat, your footsteps tapping faintly on the uneven cobbles. The city is still quiet, but there's something different in the air here. A kind of underground energy, not hurried, but stirring just beneath the surface. You've entered Soho. This part of London hums with stories, not loud ones, not yet, just traces, like the scent of yeast floating through the dawn. The buildings lean a little more closely together here, windows stacked high, shutters askew in places. Wrought iron balconies cradle potted herbs. A child's scarf flaps from a window. A single sock, too, pinned to a clothesline that sags just slightly under the weight of the morning dew. You turn a corner and come upon a narrow lane, so quiet you can hear the pigeons scratching above. And then, like a soft exhale, a wave of warmth hits you. It's the bakery. You wouldn't have spotted it if not for the wooden sign, a faded sketch of a loaf and a cup swinging gently above the door. But here it is, a squat brick shop with a crooked chimney and a shuttered front window, but with light spilling golden from the crack beneath the door. You step closer. The scent is everything at once. Yeast and flour and browning crust, sugar and cinnamon, and something buttery and faintly toasted. The baker has been working for hours. Inside, the oven roars softly, its mouth flickering orange and red as loaves rise like pillows on wooden boards. You peer through the glass pane in the door. He's a stout man with a linen shirt rolled to the elbows and flour in his beard. He works with practiced ease, no rush, no fuss, just calm hands shaping dough, folding it in on itself, patting it like an old friend. Behind him, racks are already filling, round boules, slender baguettes, small cakes dusted with sugar. He hums quietly to himself, something low and rhythmic, like the kneading of the dough itself. As you watch, the door opens beside you with a soft creak. A small girl in worn shoes steps inside. Her cheeks are pink from the cold. She stands on tiptoe to reach the counter, fingers barely grazing its edge. The baker turns, spots her, and without a word, pulls a warm roll from the shelf and wraps it in paper. He hands it to her with a nod. She grins, curtsies with a little wobble, and skips out again, cradling the bread like treasure. You follow her with your eyes as she disappears into the mist. Another figure steps in, a woman in a shawl, clutching a basket. She picks out a crusty loaf and exchanges a few copper coins. "Nice weather for the ducks," she jokes, and the baker chuckles, wiping his hands on his apron. He hands her a second loaf, smaller and round. "A bit extra. Too many came out today," he says with a wink. But you get the feeling he does that most mornings. As she leaves, a small brass bell above the door rings out again, a sound that says welcome and farewell, and come back tomorrow if you like. The light inside is warm and low. It spills out into the lane like a blanket. You walk on, slower now, half hoping the scent of fresh bread will cling to your coat. There's something lovely about a place like this. Unassuming, steady. The kind of shop that never really changes and never really needs to. A place where the rhythm of life is counted, not in minutes, but in loaves. Risen, baked, shared. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the oven, another batch is beginning to rise. The city thins out as you wander west. The buildings give way to sky, and slowly, softly, the edges of Hyde Park begin to appear, not with fanfare, but like a sheet being drawn back to reveal something long asleep. You step through a small iron gate, paint chipped slightly at the hinges. The path beyond is wide, lined with gravel, damp from the night, but firm beneath your feet. Hyde Park in the morning is a world of its own. The trees are tall and still, their branches reaching wide like they're stretching from slumber. Soft golden light filters through the leaves, dappling the path in coins of brightness that flicker as the wind sighs. You take a breath. The air here is different, cooler, sweeter, carrying a faint trace of earth and grass and the remnants of night. Off to your left, a pair of swans glide lazily along the edge of the Serpentine. They move as though they've never known urgency, their white feathers catching the light like silk. Further on, you pass a woman walking her dog, a small terrier with more enthusiasm than size. He darts forward and then waits, looking back at her with expectant eyes. She calls to him softly, and he obeys, tail wagging like a metronome. A little further still, a young boy stands at the edge of the water, throwing breadcrumbs to a cluster of geese. They flap and jostle, their calls echoing over the still surface. The boy's nursemaid watches from a bench nearby, her shawl pulled tight around her shoulders, a book open in her lap that she's not quite reading. A breeze picks up, brushing the tall grass along the edges of the path. You hear the soft ticking of leaves, the chirp of a distant bird, and beneath it all, the steady silence of morning. You walk on. To your right, a pair of ladies stroll in matching gloves and pale muslin gowns. Their conversation floats towards you in fragments. A cousin's engagement, a neighbour's unfortunate wallpaper, the weather. They pass with a polite nod. One adjusts her bonnet, the other carries a small parasol, even though the sun is only just beginning to warm the day. Behind them, a man rides past on horseback. His coat is navy blue, his top hat straight. The horse's hooves strike the earth with that slow, satisfying rhythm. Clip, clop, clip, clop. He tips his hat as he passes. You nod in return. No one's in a hurry here. Not yet. In the distance, the tall trees sway gently, the tops moving before the trunks even notice. A squirrel darts up one, pauses, and then climbs higher, tail flicking behind him. There's a bench up ahead beneath an elm tree. You take a seat, letting your body sink into its smooth wooden slats. Your fingers trail along the worn edge, carved here and there with initials and hearts left by lovers decades ago. You sit in the quiet. A newspaper rustles somewhere. A child laughs once, then falls silent again. A rider in the distance whistles a short, wandering tune. You don't know the song. It doesn't matter. Everything feels just still. Not frozen, just suspended, like the world has remembered how to rest for a moment. The sun warms your shoulder. A robin hops near your feet. You close your eyes, just for a second, and when you open them again, nothing has changed. The peace has waited for you, as if it knew you'd return. Hyde Park, in the hush of the morning, is a promise kept. You leave Hyde Park by a quiet side gate, where ivy climbs the ironwork and the grass narrows into gravel. The morning has stretched itself fully awake now, but there's still no rush, no pressure. You step out onto a broader street, lined with tall homes and neat fences, and just a few paces ahead, a black carriage waits. It's modest, not grand or glittering, but clean and well kept. Its wheels are polished, the step is sturdy, and the horse at the front is a dappled grey with patient eyes. The driver, perched high on the seat, nods without speaking. He knows the city well. No need for instructions. You climb inside. The door closes with a muffled click, and the moment you sit back, the world changes. Outside, things move and shift, but in here, everything is still. The seat beneath you is deep and worn smooth. You can feel the slight give of the leather, the warmth from the sun touching the windows. Then you move. The carriage rolls forward gently, the wheels whispering over stone. The horse walks at a steady pace, not hurried, not slow, just right. You peek out through the small window beside you. The streets begin to change. Gone are the leafy green stretches of Hyde Park. Now the roads curve past bookshops and milliners, wine merchants and apothecaries, their signs swinging lazily in the breeze. A bootmaker's shop displays tiny velvet slippers in the front window, one pair trimmed in lace, another with a small bow at the toe. Next door, a man sweeps his doorstep, whistling softly as he works. Children chase one another along the pavement, their shrieks high and happy, until a nursemaid gathers them again with a firm wave. They quiet, but only slightly. A woman with a parcel tucked beneath one arm lifts her skirts carefully as she steps over a puddle. A man doffs his hat as she passes. In the distance, the sound of church bells echoes faintly, just a few notes, and then disappears again behind the row of buildings. The carriage turns onto a wider road now. You pass a grand hotel with brass fittings and men in white gloves, a group of porters unloading trunks while a dog sleeps lazily on the steps. Just beyond, a music shop opens its doors for the day. A young man inside adjusts a violin in the window, tilting it until the light hits the varnish just so. Outside the carriage, life moves gently. Someone laughs. A paperboy runs across the street. A painter dabs at the side of a door frame, humming something under his breath. And still, the carriage moves. Your body sways slightly with each turn. The seat creaks once, then settles. Your thoughts float. You don't try to hold them. The West End is coming into view now. The buildings grow grander, more ornate. Stone columns rise beside arched doorways. Balconies bloom with ivy and geraniums. Gas lamps flicker even in the daylight. You pass a pastry shop with glass counters piled high. Cream puffs, sugar-dusted tartlets, tiny eclairs lined up in perfect rows. A woman inside points excitedly at a tray, her hands gloved in pale blue. The baker behind the counter beams, handing her a paper-wrapped parcel with a bow of twine. The carriage slows slightly. Not for traffic, there is none. Just a soft, meandering rhythm to this part of the city. A quiet dance. You close your eyes for a moment. Feel the sway. Hear the gentle sound of hooves on stone. Clip, clop, clip, clop. The rhythm is almost like a heartbeat. Steady, soothing, familiar. The driver turns down another lane. This one narrower but brighter. A shaft of sun cuts across the carriage and warms your knees. You could ride like this forever. And maybe you will. Because here, in this quiet moment, in this old city wrapped in morning light, there is nowhere you have to be. No one waiting. Nothing demanding your attention. Just you and the street and the soft roll of wheels carrying you further into the day. The carriage pulls to a gentle stop on a narrow street just off Charing Cross. It's quieter here. Shadows stretch long across the cobblestones, and a fine mist hangs low in the air. Not quite rain, not quite fog, just a breath of dampness that softens the world around you. You step down from the carriage and glance up at the shop sign. Willow and Wren, lending library and antiquarian books. The window beside the door is fogged around the corners, but you can just make out a stack of books inside, tied with string, and sitting beside a glass jar of violets. You push the door gently open. A small bell above the frame gives a single, clear chime, the kind that feels like it's echoing just for you. The warmth greets you first, then the scent. Books, old paper and linen binding, ink and beeswax polish. A whisper of wood smoke from the tiny fireplace tucked into the back wall. The library isn't large, just one long room, a few armchairs, and a ladder that slides gently along a track near the ceiling. But the space feels endless somehow, like time stretches a little differently here. The floorboards creak beneath your feet, not complaining, just announcing you softly to the room. A man behind the front desk looks up from his ledger. He has wire-rimmed spectacles and a grey waistcoat. He doesn't speak, just nods, then returns to his writing. You wander down the narrow aisle between the shelves. The books are organized loosely, but lovingly. History here, poetry there. Several shelves labeled letters worth rereading. There's even a section for fancies and notions, filled with pamphlets, forgotten journals, and thin volumes of curious tales. You reach out and let your fingers trail across the spines. Some are cracked, some are smooth as river stones. A few still carry the warmth of the hands that returned them just that morning. There's no sound but the scratch of the librarian's pen. No ticking clock, no whisper of conversation. Just the steady hush of stories, keeping each other company. You pause beside a table with a teapot and 2 chipped cups. Steam curls softly from the spout. A note tucked underneath reads, "Help yourself. Milk's gone off. Apologies." You smile to yourself and pour a little into a cup anyway, cradling the warmth in your hands as you continue to wander. At the back of the room, a velvet armchair waits beside a low window. The curtain is half pulled, just enough to see the silhouette of the street outside. A shadow of a horse passing, the flicker of a lantern lighting. You settle into the chair. It sighs beneath your weight, as if it's been waiting just for you. Your tea rests on the table beside you. A small book waits there too, its title nearly worn off, its edges softened by time. You pick it up, open it, turn a page. The words don't demand anything. They don't need you to finish them. You can just sit with them. Let them sit with you. The fire crackles once, a log shifts, then settles again. You breathe in the silence, the warm paper, the faint scent of lavender that seems to cling to the shelves. Somewhere near the door, a young woman enters with a toddler balanced on one hip. She whispers something to the librarian. He nods, hands her a book wrapped in brown paper. She presses it to her chest and slips back out again. You barely hear the bell this time. The sun moves slightly outside, a slant of new light cutting across the rug by your feet. The chair grows warmer beneath you, the book heavier in your hands, and the world narrows to just this. One room, 1 hour, one breath in, one breath out, and 1,000 lives quietly waiting, patiently bound in linen and ink, ready to keep you company until the moment you close your eyes. The carriage pulls to a gentle stop on a narrow street just off Charing Cross. It's quieter here. Shadows stretch long across the cobblestones, and a fine mist hangs low in the air. Not quite rain, not quite fog, just a breath of dampness that softens the world around you. You step down from the carriage and glance up at the shop sign. Willow and Wren, lending library and antiquarian books. The window beside the door is fogged around the corners, but you can just make out a stack of books inside, tied with string, and sitting beside a glass jar of violets. You push the door gently open. A small bell above the frame gives a single clear chime, the kind that feels like it's echoing just for you. The warmth greets you first, then the scent. Books, old paper and linen binding, ink and beeswax polish, a whisper of wood smoke from the tiny fireplace tucked into the back wall. The library isn't large, just one long room, a few armchairs, and a ladder that slides gently along a track near the ceiling. But the space feels endless somehow, like time stretches a little differently here. The floorboards creak beneath your feet, not complaining, just announcing you softly to the room. A man behind the front desk looks up from his ledger. He has wire-rimmed spectacles and a grey waistcoat. He doesn't speak, just nods, then returns to his writing. You wander down the narrow aisle between the shelves. The books are organized loosely but lovingly. History here, poetry there. Several shelves labeled letters worth rereading. There's even a section for fancies and notions, filled with pamphlets, forgotten journals, and thin volumes of curious tales. You reach out and let your fingers trail across the spines. Some are cracked, some are smooth as river stones. A few still carry the warmth of the hands that returned them just that morning. There's no sound but the scratch of the librarian's pen. No ticking clock, no whisper of conversation. Just the steady hush of stories keeping each other company. You pause beside a table with a teapot and 2 chipped cups. Steam curls softly from the spout. A note tucked underneath reads, "Help yourself. Milk's gone off. Apologies." You smile to yourself and pour a little into a cup anyway, cradling the warmth in your hands as you continue to wander. At the back of the room, a velvet armchair waits beside a low window. The curtain is half pulled, just enough to see the silhouette of the street outside. A shadow of a horse passing, the flicker of a lantern lighting. You settle into the chair. It sighs beneath your weight, as if it's been waiting just for you. Your tea rests on the table beside you. A small book waits there, too. Its title nearly worn off, its edges softened by time. You pick it up, open it, turn a page. The words don't demand anything. They don't need you to finish them. You can just sit with them. Let them sit with you. The fire crackles once. A log shifts, then settles again. You breathe in the silence, the warm paper, the faint scent of lavender that seems to cling to the shelves. Somewhere near the door, a young woman enters with a toddler balanced on one hip. She whispers something to the librarian. He nods, hands her a book wrapped in brown paper. She presses it to her chest and slips back out again. You barely hear the bell this time. The sun moves slightly outside, a slant of new light cutting across the rug by your feet. The chair grows warmer beneath you, the book heavier in your hands, and the world narrows to just this. One room, 1 hour, one breath in, one breath out, and 1,000 lives quietly waiting, patiently bound in linen and ink, ready to keep you company until the moment you close your eyes. The sky is deepening now. The gentle gold of afternoon has melted into amber and slate, and the gas lamps flicker to life one by one, casting halos of light that shimmer through the growing dusk. The city begins to change its rhythm. Not louder, exactly, just different, more watchful, more awake. You make your way toward Drury Lane, the buildings close together now, their windows glowing from within. The streets here hum with a kind of held breath. People move with purpose, but still in soft conversation, arms linked, gloves fastened, coats brushed free of lint by careful hands. You pass a row of shops, their signs painted with gold-leafed lettering. Silks and notions, apothecary of fine tonics, hair powder and pomade. Each storefront seems to be winding down for the night, but just ahead, something else is winding up. The theatre stands like a jewel box in the gathering dark, its facade lit by rows of lamps, its doors open and inviting, the scent of candle wax and perfume drifting faintly out into the air. You don't have a ticket, but that doesn't matter. There's no line, no fuss, just a quiet understanding that this place welcomes those who enter with care. You step through the doors. Inside, the noise softens. Voices drop to a murmur. The floor is carpeted in thick velvet, muffling each step. Candlelight flickers in mirrored sconces, casting hundreds of tiny flames that dance across the walls. A boy in a page's uniform nods and gestures you up a narrow stair. You follow, the banister worn smooth beneath your hand. At the top, you find yourself in a small box, modest but private, with a perfect view of the stage below. You sit. The seat creaks once as you settle in, then holds you like an old friend. The house is not yet full. A few patrons are still filtering in. A lady in lavender gloves, a gentleman in a striped cravat. They whisper to one another, faces lit softly by the candles on the rail. Down below, the pit is bustling. But even the bustle is muted, wrapped in the hush of expectation. The orchestra begins to tune. A cello hums a low note. A flute trills quietly. The violin sighs into place. No full song yet, just hints, just the promise of what's to come. You look toward the stage. The curtain is still down, rich crimson velvet embroidered in gold thread. It sways slightly, moved by someone behind, or maybe just by the breath of the building itself. The scent in the air is delicate, warm wax, powder, rosewater, a trace of dust that's lived here for years. And then, just as a hush settles like a blanket over the room, a bell rings once, a single chime, not loud, but clear. The curtain stirs. You lean forward, but not in anticipation, just to catch the moment before it happens. But it doesn't. Not yet. Instead, the stage glows softly as a row of footlights flickers to life. A soft wash of amber touches the curtain, and the music begins. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet overture. No actors have stepped on stage. No scene has begun. But still, the magic arrives. You close your eyes for just a moment, letting the music drift up to meet you like warm wind. When you open them again, you rise. You don't stay for the performance. There's no need. You've already seen enough. The theatre is a world that keeps turning without you. A gentle carousel of stories and song, glitter and hush. And tonight, it has given you just a glimpse through candlelight and music, into the quiet wonder of what might be. You step out once more into the London night. The air is cooler now, the sky full of stars. The theatre behind you continues to glow. You walk on. Evening deepens as you turn toward Portland Place. Here, the buildings stand a little taller. Their windows glow with flickering candlelight. Carriages line the street, wheels gleaming with dew. Footmen in white gloves wait patiently at the curb. And at the center of it all, behind tall double doors painted soft blue, a ballroom waits. You approach without hurry. The doorman gives a polite nod, and without a word, he opens the door. Inside, the warmth spills over you like velvet. There's music in the air. Not loud, not fast. Just the soft rhythm of a string quartet, playing a waltz slow enough to sway the heart. You enter the receiving hall first. Mirrors line the walls, reflecting soft halos of candlelight. Guests arrive in clusters, murmuring greetings and brushing snowflakes from their coats. You climb the staircase, each step muffled by thick carpet. The banister cool and smooth beneath your fingers. Up ahead, laughter drifts down the corridor, light and unbothered. And then, the ballroom, a grand open space trimmed in ivory and gold. Candle sconces line the walls, their flames reflected in gilded frames. The chandeliers sparkle gently above, no glint, no glare, just the shimmer of 100 tiny stars overhead. The floor gleams beneath your feet, polished oak, warmed by dancing footsteps and time. Guests swirl slowly across the room, not in a rush, not for spectacle, just moving, gliding like leaves in a quiet current. Women in silks of lilac, rose, and palest green. Men in dark coats and crisp white cravats. A fan flutters closed. A bow is offered, a hand extended, and the waltz continues, its gentle rhythm carrying everyone forward, one turn at a time. You don't need to dance. You don't even need to move. You find a place at the edge of the room, a velvet bench tucked beside a column, and from there you watch. The way the candles flicker in time with the music, the soft rustle of skirts, the subtle lift of a hem as someone glides backward into the next step. A laugh, delicate and clear. The clink of crystal glasses raised in a quiet toast. A servant offers you a glass of chilled lemon water. You accept it, holding the stem carefully, the condensation leaving a faint chill on your fingertips. From your seat, you can see everything. The curve of the musician's bows, the faint blush in a debutante's cheek as she glances at her partner, the older couple near the back, dancing as if no one else is in the room. The song changes. Another waltz, just as soft. The dancers move in new patterns, but you stay still. The bench is warm beneath you. The music weaves gently through your thoughts, filling them not with stories, but with sensation, light, sound, stillness. A young man pauses in front of you for a moment. He's lost his dance partner, or maybe he's just resting. He smiles politely and drifts away again. Everything here feels unhurried, unforced, as though the night has no intention of ending, as if it might just stretch on like this forever. The music, the candlelight, the soft, shared rhythm of quiet celebration. You finish your water, set the glass aside, and as you stand to leave, no one stops you. No one needs to. You've had your moment here, bathed in lamplight, wrapped in song, held for just a while by the gentlest hour of the evening. You step out onto the landing once more, descending slowly, your hand trailing the banister. Outside, the carriages remain. The stars overhead blink slowly. You pull your coat a little tighter, take one last look at the golden light behind the windows, and then walk quietly back into the night. By now, the city has quieted again. The rush of early evening has faded, and the echoes of laughter and hoofbeats have softened into something slower, more distant, more dreamlike. You wander through narrow streets, your footsteps the only sound for long stretches. The stones beneath your shoes are still a little damp from the earlier mist, and the air is cool against your cheeks. The lamps are fewer now. Their light pools gently beneath them, leaving shadows to stretch and breathe between doorways and alleys. And then you see it, a soft glow warmer than the rest. Flickering candlelight, not gas, tucked beneath a long overhang, between two shuttered storefronts. A stall still stands open. Wooden, weathered, its shelves bowed under the weight of used books. Some stacked, some leaning, some tucked into crevices where they barely fit. A hand reaches out to adjust a spine. The bookseller. He is older, with a long coat and a woolen cap pulled low, glasses perched on the edge of his nose. He doesn't greet you, but his expression says you're welcome all the same. You step closer, the wooden planks beneath your feet creaking softly. The scent of old paper rises like a tide, musty and sweet, tinged with ink and damp leather. A small lantern hangs from the top of the stall, its flame twitching in the light breeze. The books glow beneath it, spines gilded and scuffed, titles barely legible in some cases, as if the stories within are best whispered rather than read aloud. You trail a finger along the edges. They feel like time itself, softened and steady. not fragile, but well used. Some volumes are wrapped in cloth, tied with string. Some are tiny, small enough to fit in a coat pocket. Others are thick and imposing, with titles like Lectures on Moral Philosophy or The Nature of Dreams. The bookseller lights a small pipe. The smoke curls upward, twisting around the hanging lantern before dissolving into the dark. He hums something low. Not quite a song, just a rhythm, like the ticking of a distant clock. You select a small book from the center, its cover soft and faded, no title on the spine. You open it gently. The pages are handwritten. Poems, it seems, or letters. Maybe both. You read a line. The night knows things the morning forgets. You close the book again and return it to its place. But the words linger, nestled somewhere beneath your ribs. The bookseller looks up, meets your gaze, then reaches under the counter and hands you a wrapped parcel. It's not addressed, not labeled, but you take it, and he nods once, satisfied. You smile in return, tucking it beneath your arm as you step away from the store. The bell of a distant church rings once. Midnight, just one chime. Not dramatic, not foreboding, just a soft reminder that the day is ending. Behind you, the bookseller begins to close up. Gently, deliberately, no rush. He douses the lantern, flicks ash from his pipe, and disappears into the dark with a cart that squeaks like a lullaby. You continue down the street, parcel in hand, heart full of paper and candlelight, and quiet things that don't ask to be spoken aloud. The night deepens, and the city exhales. The hour is late. The sky above you is nearly black, except for the soft pinpricks of stars that blink quietly above the rooftops. There's no moon tonight, or perhaps it's hiding behind the clouds, but the air is still touched with silver, as though the very mist glows with memory. You walk slowly now, not from weariness, but because there is no reason to move any faster. The city is still. London, that great and bustling place, is at rest. No carriages pass now, no footsteps echo, only the soft sigh of the wind against the shutters and the occasional murmur of leaves stirring along the pavement. You pass a row of townhouses, their windows dim. A single candle glows behind a lace curtain. Perhaps someone reading just a few pages more, or writing one last line in a diary before the quill is set aside. A cat sits on a stoop, eyes half closed, tail curled neatly around its paws. It watches you without alarm, then returns to its nap. Far ahead, a lamplighter extinguishes the final gas lamp. He moves slowly, his ladder steady, his coat buttoned against the chill. He tips his hat to you as he passes. You return the gesture without words. No one needs to speak now. You find yourself walking past familiar places. The square where you saw the flower cart that morning, the bench beneath the elm in Hyde Park, the quiet alley near the bookstall. Each one holds a piece of the day, not marked by time, but by feeling, warmth, stillness, the sense of being gently folded into something larger than yourself. And now, the night wraps itself around you too, soft and cool and full of comfort. You turn a final corner and find the narrow street where your lodgings wait. A small iron gate, a few stone steps, a door painted the color of oversteeped tea. You open it quietly. Inside, the air is warmer, still. Your shoes rest neatly by the door. A fire glows low in the grate, its coals pulsing faintly like the last note of a lullaby. A single candle flickers on the table, and beside it, a book you meant to finish. But now, don't feel the need to open. The parcel from the bookseller rests beside it. You don't open that either. Not tonight. Instead, you move slowly to the chair by the window, pulling a soft blanket across your knees. You sit there for a while, watching the final wisps of fog curl past the pane, listening to the silence of a city finally sleeping. In this moment, there's nothing you must do, nowhere you must be, nothing to carry but your breath, nothing to remember except this. The city holds you, gently, quietly, like a friend who needs no conversation. You close your eyes, and the stillness welcomes you. Thank you for wandering with me tonight through the quiet corners of Regency London. I hope the candlelight, the soft footsteps, the waltzes and tea rooms, and misty cobblestones offered you a place to rest. You don't need to hold on to any of it. Not the names, not the places, not even the scenes. Just the feeling, the warmth, the stillness, the slow, steady comfort of being unhurried and unbothered. If you've already drifted off, then I wish you the sweetest dreams. And if you're still with me, soft-eyed and heavy-limbed, I hope you'll return again soon. There are so many stories waiting, so many cities and times we can visit together. Until then, sleep well, and may you wake gently when morning comes. Good night.